I have to address this name. This name is disgraceful. I will not hear his name tarnished. No one speaks down to my boy Magic because we are back for another Legends from the Ladders game. It is going to be Beastie Cutie in the yellow as the Ottomans versus ML Through versus Magic to get Beastie playing in the blue as the Mongols. I am disgusted. Okay, you cannot see Magic do it like that. Marine Lord was sweating. He was completely cuckolded in that tournament. Like, do not take anything away from Magic, folks. My boy done him in. Magic is Marine Lord's kryptonite. I will hear nothing otherwise. So from now on, you are just simply called ML Through. Who is going to be up against BC, playing as the Mongols on Lipany, I believe we've got here. Man, just don't really get to see Lipany as much anymore, but fairly open spawn, very limited cliff sides. Choke points are fairly regular here, though, due to the way that the woods have spawned. Let's see how this plays out, though. Opening for the Mongol player, he got a forward spawning Uvu here, but close to the base. Gold is far off, but retracted behind. This is beneficial up against the Ottoman player, as Ottomans, although they'll go for Sipahi eventually, they open aggressively with archers or spears. And the interesting thing that's going to happen here is BC is going to be forced to commit to spears early on because he's up against a Mongol player. The anticipated opening from Mongol player is that they're going to open him with a Rax, spam 4 to 8 spears, and then force the Ottoman player to react to that. And you have to react to that, especially with the opening for Beastie. Notice that he's got a forward spawning gold vein here. So this is something that is not going to be free real estate. If he had a northern spawn gold vein, he could try to rush on the gold, get enough, and pull back. But realistically, when you're an Ottoman player, you don't want to do that anyway, because something else you're going to need is stone. So if your idea is, I'm going to play Retract with Madrissa and use my wood line protected, you're going to fall flat when you try to scale it into more military schools. Well, let's see if that Rax play is going to come. That's also the annoying thing, is like, you could argue, well, what if ML Through doesn't do it at all? What if it's a bait? Seems like a good idea until the Ottoman spears come to your base and start torching down the Uvu. Now, usually it depends, right? So like you're seeing Beastie, he's not committing to a Rax yet. Sometimes what you'll see is an Ottoman player will go into a Rax because he needs additional spears. But I love the contained play from Beastie. You know, he hasn't scouted out what's happening in the base of the Mongol player yet. But he hasn't seen any villager pool. He hasn't seen any spears. If he reacted with a Rax right now, ML Through is incredibly far ahead at that stage. So, good read by BC to not overcommit. Oh, thank you, folks. Appreciate it. I appreciate a good big brain play here, but it seems like it hasn't worked out. Usually it's one of those situations where like you kind of debate, is it worth committing to a Rax, then force a reaction, then pivot back? It depends what your end goal is. Like, for example, if the Mongol player is just trying for, like, fast castle boom type build, probably not worth the initial aggression. But then you have to weigh up the fact that you're up against an Ottoman player. An Ottoman is not going to let you get castle age for free. There's going to be taxation on your existence in the game, especially with the spawn that the Mongol player rather got. Nothing is really free. Nothing's really forbidden here. Oh, speaking of things that aren't forbidden, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of Silver Tree. Okay, so Philisbert says the main account is Philisberto. Got it. ML Through. I don't know. Maybe chat. Like, what do you prefer? ML Through? I could just hear Marine Lord molding already. Or Philisberto. I guess, like reference, this is easier for people, but either one works. The Silver Tree has been making quite the trend for the Mongols right now. A lot of people are actually feeling that it's outrageous in OP. I think it's kind of OP, but the main reason it's OP is because of the trade trick. I think that's really the big issue right now in AoE 4. Makes it way too easy to get bang for buck out of trading, and it essentially strips away a huge chunk of the initial risk of setting up. Like, you're basically halving the return time on your investment, which is just ludicrous when you consider the type of values you can get from trading. So that's going to be his opening. I don't know if Beastie suspects this either. He's, of course, going up with the Madrissa himself. And well, Beastie, he has walked by with the scout. I'm not sure. He must have seen that. He must have seen the Silver Tree. There's no way that went up for free without that info being given over. We'll see if a villager is going to be pulled early to try and set up the marketplace, rather. The problem that you're going to have if you are ML Through here is that you don't have any units out in the field. So if you just try to rush out and build up a marketplace now, it's going to fall flat. You don't want to build one at home either. Like, the movement speed, I believe, is very pitiful in comparison to villagers, right? Yeah, 0.75 compared to 1.29. You'd rather just run a villager out and marketplace up over there. The tech ups are at least going to come out. Silver Tree will be boogalooing over. Should be moving towards the Uvu. And oh, hello. No. Wait, he's going for the trade? On the west side. But BC's locking it out. And he's going to beat him to the punchline. As long as he quick walls this. I mean, you don't even need a quick wall realistically here. It seems like ML Fru has got a little bit paranoid, despite the fact that they could have went... Wait, what? What is this play by ML Fru? This is completely blind, right? This hasn't been informed at all. The only thing I can think is that they saw something over here running across ahead of time. And that's why they make this pull. It's probably more to do with the spearman, actually, if anything. So I believe the spearman from Beastie went west, right? Because he saw him in the gold vein. So ML Fru's trying to big brain this and now move to the other side to not be noticed. Does mean that you're getting a worse trade value, right? It's not necessarily as far. Like, if you try to set up here versus the one on the other side, you could easily have a second marketplace near the deer at the back, and you get maximum distance. Whereas here, you're going to be getting, you know, like 3/4 of the map. Still, will allow them to dodge out potential death here. The other issue is, like, while one spin might not kill the Silver Tree, it can just stop it from deploying the entire time. And that's exactly why ML3 chose to go right instead. He's immediately going to Magadai very early on here. Now, this is surprising. Usually people wait to see a unit to respond to. Yeah, I've seen a few Spearmen, but there is a risk that you're going to be up against an Archer Ball. It's the most logical build for most Ottoman players. The reason I'm usually quite harsh on like rushed Magadai opponents is this price you're seeing. 120 food and 40 gold. And of course, trade is going to help you on the gold side, but not much else. And there is the cost of setting up that trade initially. It does stretch your resources thin. You know, you have to be very careful. Magadai won't let you take a direct fight, but at least lets you choose a fight. And it's important you choose that fight, because if you sacrifice these units very early on, it sets you miles behind, because replacing them is just going to starve you out. We're already up to 6 here. Now, one key detail I always talk about when you go early Magadai, you have to optimize your Khan usage. It's actually a very big deal to lose the Khan in early raids, because it removes that get out of jail free card that you have in the Maneuver Arrow, which is so critical to getting out of dangerous situations with the Magadai, where you either get blocked off by spears or gap closed by archers. Looks like there was an outpost forced back at home. Now, these outposts are going to be beneficial for ML Fru. You see the marketplace over here, right? You want to set these outposts to get the Yam movement speed, give you a garrison point against what's likely to be an Archer Ball. And that movement speed is going to be important not just for the traders, it's going to be crucial for the Magadai to skirt these fights and choose their targets logically. Speaking of targets, they will scout what's coming, so BC does start to invest into the Archer Ball. Triple Archer range already. BC probably has a slight smile on his face. You have to feel confident when you see this many Magadai committed to this early on. It's very difficult to now fight directly in, especially with the meta being added in so early. It has been added in via the Vizier point, which means that movement speed. The importance of this, by the way, is this is now a mobile Yam. So the movement speed advantage you got for the Magadai has now been essentially removed, even if you're fighting on home territory, because of the meta. Let's see how this works out. Looks like we are going to get spears added in. Yeah, don't worry, guys. They're here to protect the building. So spears is a very interesting choice. Like, you are up against metas, but at the same time, you're adding in spears. You're up against Spy Rug, but you're adding in spears up against an Archer Ball. It's a very dangerous game that ML Fru is playing. Looks like they're trying to play for raw numbers. I guess the logic here is if the spearmen engage, the archers have to deal with them. So the Magadai can kind of just follow up from behind. But in that situation, you know, the archers will still clean you up fairly fast, and in some cases, it might be more bang for buck to prioritize the Magadai instead of the spears attacking you. It's only 1 extra damage on the spears, but the attack speed difference, you know, 1.88 compared to 1.25, means that Magadai have a higher DPS. Well, in fairness, the counter-argument can be that spears do die faster, right? You get double damage. It's a bit of a cumbersome one. You forgot he's going spears, he's going archers only. Yeah, like most Ottoman players will, right? Adding in Sapahi is very expensive, so you get them through passive reduction. You have to deal with a few, but this does feel like a kind of over-investment. A 50-50 seems fair with how cheap the spears were to the Magadai, but then it's still the fact that you had to spend so much on Magadai in the first place. And looks like ML3 will finally now go back for the Horseman. That would have made a lot of sense as an opener. Silvertree, in the meantime, is going to be harassed. And likely that ML3 is going to want to go into this soon. Let's get those initial Horsemen out, though. With double stables, this should be feasible. A lot of units actually coming out very early on here. You have to do this. When you're up against the Ottomans, if you don't address this before it fully escalates, it's going to get out of control. It very much snowballs with this Civ. Beastie's already pumping into the siege engineering, interestingly enough. Very early siege engineering at that. Don't often see this. But with such limited melee units and a need to deny the trade, it does make a lot of sense, remember, because the trade trick is occurring here. Looks like the clash is going to come out. Magadai are going to bait attention onto them, so the spears are able to gap close, and nice bait back there. Magadai will now look to re-engage. Now remember, this is actually not beneficial for BC to have to target the Magadai. Spears he does double damage against. He kills Magadai much slower, but it is better in terms of economical trade. Problem is these spears are adding a lot of damage as a result of that, and it looks like it's going to be a wipe. Beastie has no way out. Horseman Pinch is going to clean him up. Best thing he can do now is to try to trade out wherever he can, but he also does lose the meta, so reset after this is going to be much more difficult. Good hold from ML. Philipsburg. Well, here's the thing for Philipsburg. This is good. Now we need to get pressure in. He's secured the trade. Need to see a maneuver now to try and pressure into the base of Beastie. Because if you sit back, another passive army is going to be produced behind this. So let's see what he does. Decent amount of horsemen, which is why I want to see that raid coming in. Not that many Magadai to now chip away at villages, but just a few horsemen like this. They get into the wood line, they delay this. It's going to slow down the snowball of this rebuild for Beastie. Remember, the only thing Beastie really needs outside of his base is wood, which means he has a very condensed economy. Very difficult to reach, though, right? Around the west side. And already arriving in the base and seeing that number of defenders, I've got a feeling there's going to be hesitation here. Yeah, this is one of those situations where maybe just peeling off 3 or 4 horsemen is worth it to go around the sides. Like, you know when you're playing against Ottomans and you see this many archers, like, the wood has to come from somewhere, and these wood lines will thin. So just, especially even more so when you're up against this comp, right? It's archers and there's some spears added in there by Beastie. So this is a very slow comp and doesn't have a meta still. So if you play wide flanks with horsemen, you can just waste his time. Like, you ironically play BC's own type of style against him, because BC loves doing this to players, where he draws you back to your base and you react. And it's a very important thing to do with Mongols, especially. It's a civ that doesn't necessarily sit back often. But I think what's happening here is you're seeing this trade, right? You're seeing the benefits of it, and you feel this need to protect it. Sometimes aggression is the best form of protection, right? You eliminate a threat before it becomes one. Instead, the beast will get a chance to rise again from his slumber. The military numbers are already favoring him once again. So archers marching out. A decent amount of horsemen here to meet. Limited spears from Beastie. And, oh, well, hold on a second. It's going to be a Kurultai build coming out from LFRU. This is an interesting one, actually. Kurultai in this situation, trade numbers aren't necessarily that high, right? I want to say we've got like 9 traders. 8. Okay, I was going to say 8 originally. I'm not saying this. I was actually going to say 8 originally, but I wanted to give it a little bit more credit. So 8 to 9 traders, not really that high. You're about to crack Castle Age. That's a lot of gold that's going to be needed when you've got these type of buildings, right? You're looking crossbows, men-at-arms, knights as well. Kurultai to me often feels like a bait, because it's very difficult to use the damage element now that it doesn't linger. It just disappears straight away. But let's see what ML3 can do. Problem I see right now is the military count. Like, this tech up has informed Beastie of everything he needs to know. He's going to march in. Rams to breach through the outposts. Decent bang for buck there. Only 750 HP on each of these outposts. They don't last long. Interception and... oh, man. Oh, this is where it feels catastrophic. So what's happened here is ML3 has now been cut off of trade. And remember, they can't trade west side because this has been walled. And they don't have step readout. So you've just teched up and you lack gold for long-term investment, right? You can get a few knights out, but now you need to heavily invest people onto the gold vein to afford what's next. Let's see what they can do, though. Maybe they can just get access to this trade line again. Kurultai is on the move. This could become clutch. Beastie has no intent of teching up behind this. He continues to invest in more military. Archer upgrade is at least coming through. Although, even with the upgrade, it's 4 times the archers for Beastie. More traders are going to be sniped out as they walk to their death. Kurultai has now been scouted, so Beastie will back away. Have to respect that damage aura. Can add a lot in, especially these archers now being juiced up into veterancy. As they do 9 damage. They're essentially Imperial Age archers at that stage. Archers in this count, not really a fight that ML necessarily wants to commit to. Although the longer you skirt this, the worse it gets. If you're relying on the Kurultai, you're waiting too long. The pack up and pack down time is going to be too long. It's going to allow Beastie to get the clash. Oh, no, no, no. Heals are going to come out, but remember, it's not the most substantial heals. It's only 1 per second. So many archers are going to snipe you out. Spear's going to be finned out. Enough of them to scare him away. ML, like, you saw the hesitation. He was waiting for the Kurultai to deploy before he went in. But the problem is the archers then have the edge every time you turn around. Does at least hold. In the meantime, BC is craftily trying to wall this in. Looks like going to be a hit and a miss there. He's have to back away. But I believe Beastie, is he just backing up for a tech up? He might be. It's kind of worrisome, actually, that the ML couldn't take that fight when you consider that Beastie didn't even have his full military force there. Right? He only had like 45, maybe. But the problem that you have if you're ML here is just, like, Philippa doesn't really have enough premium units yet. Yeah, like, look at the count. We've got 1 Lancer, 1 Magadai is still feudal went to about. It's just Men-at-Arms mass. Men-at-Arms mass is kind of dicey here because you don't have the movement speed to gap close. And look at the damage. 2 volleys from this many archers, you're just dead. And more trade on. Oh, no. Now, once again, I like to emphasize that ML does not have any gold gathering back at home. It's all on this trade. And they're trying to commit to mass men-at-arms. Doesn't cost that much gold, but you still need some. And right now, they're getting none. Outposts are also being eliminated. Nice use of these rams by Beastie. Strip away that value from the map for ML. Men-at-arms love the call for reinforcements. Doesn't want to let this turn into a death ball anytime soon. Beastie, crafty bugger that he is. Look what he's doing behind this. Tech up is on the way. Recon comes through the honest opinion. Kurultai sucks ass now. I agree. I was saying a little bit earlier, because it used to, if I recall correctly, it used to linger with the attack speed, with the attack damage rather. That was good. That was usable. You could go on some dynamic raids, you could come back, you could utilize it. Kurultai now is absolutely abysmal. I don't understand what his use is meant to be anymore. It's like what you get out of this Kurultai, I could get out of the Ottomans with an Imam in an AoE. It's pitiful. Yeah, I agreed. It was 30 seconds. I think it might have been 25 seconds they put it down to. It was good for Magadai. You could just loop Magadai in, heal them when they're injured. It had use. But now the Kurultai is pure dog. It's not even the dog's bollocks anymore. It's either dog or bollocks. It can't be both. You know, the only way you'd use Kurultai now is if you're doing a slow Treb siege, and then you get the 25% damage buff. But that sucks as well. Like, the problem is, because this damage buff doesn't affect bonus damage, it makes it irrelevant with a lot of unit types. Just not a good unit to be going, not a good landmark to go in with. And you can see the other issue now, because you went for the silver tree, you don't have the backup option of just sucking up all this gold from the veins. Unfortunate for them. And they've gone for a second TC though, so they'll at least get some eco edge there. However, the Ottomans will feel very chill at this point in the game. Even if they start to fall behind economically when we look at the villager count, they're not behind when you consider all the free eco they're going to be getting. You can already see the army value here. Good lord, almost double for Beastie. A lot of chatter going on right now. Beastie, please don't kill me. Beastie, please let me live. Beastie, can I get a few traders online? No! The Ottomans will always deny you every turn. Anything you hoped for, anything you loved. You'd be left with tears in your eyes at this rate. ML is at least trying to close that military lead that BC has here. BC's like, where's the trade? Where's the trade? Where's the... Oh, you haven't done it again. Good boy. Now, something to keep in mind is long-term, ML can't stay like this. Wood's running out. You're in a corner. You haven't really got much to work with. Get spotted going for the prayer tent into the relics as well. Unfortunate. So no gold coming there either. And there's that Zerg of gold markers I was You got 15 villagers here. You would have had 7.5 villagers extra gathering for you with the step readout. And also, this gold vein would have lasted longer. You would have got more bang for buck out of it. It's a horrible situation to find yourself in. And keep in mind, you have to come out of the base soon, right? You've got a gold vein in front of your base. You only got one more behind. The baby veins at that. And you're talking about a comp that involves men-at-arms and siege. So like, long term, this is kind of untenable, right? You need to gain some ground soon. Let me switch those around. Sorry, that just got confusing, but I realized, technically, ML Fru is on the left side here. BC, very content to just wait for the moment. Mangonel shots come out. Will hit onto the metas, but chunky boys they are, they will not die easily. So there's a lot of raid attempts coming in right now from ML Fru, but the walls are already up. Beastie decided that he doesn't want to come out to play too quickly. Interesting wrap from Beastie as well. Essentially forfeits the shortest route. Maybe there's an opportunity to pinch the horsemen when they try to burn through the palisades. It just might be better value to go into the base, though. I think BC's kind of skirting and flirting instead of just committing. But his army is clearly superior. Kortai on the move, so yeah, ML Fru. I think ML Fru was expecting BC to still be in the neighborhood. He's about to get the bad news. It's going to be a commitment to the base. While the army is away, we come to play. It's going to be marched through. The second TC won't last very long against this many melee units. Archers are going to commit in to idle everything out. Reinforcements are going to cut down as soon as they come out. Kortai is at least parked here. Everything being sniped. Now the Beastie, what's it going to be? It's going to be commitment. He's going to torch this down. It's not going to take long either. Troops are on the way. Mango can come in clutch around these choke points. That's why Beastie is going to back up. Heavy hit to open the fight, though. They get tagged up against the TC. However, with that town center now gone, a lot of real estate to maneuver around in here, so not as easy to get choked up against walls and stuck in areas anymore. Beastie will thin out the lines. Sapahi wrapping around. Second Mangonel's going to come out straight into its death. ML Fru needs to keep the second one alive here. Enough archers are there to push away the remaining Sapahi. A lot of idle eco in the meantime coming out from ML Fru. Archers are just going to commit in. Nice gap close there. Beastie, he stays on top of the Mango, so it can't hit him hard. We'll trade out the remainder. And it looks like the Horseman raid never actually done anything here. Could not burn through. After all is said and done, just look at the military count. By the time Beastie's army gets cleaned up, his military is going to be neck and neck. But look at what happened to the economy. That lead that ML Fru built has been thrown away. Man, great commitment by Beastie as well. Like, there was a little bit of hesitation, but as soon as he realized that he couldn't chase the horsemen around and there was no defense force in the base, he dives hard. Even if he loses the army, you have to consider the amount of idle eco. Like, you had 25 in the TCs. You lose one of the TCs anyway. You've got about another 10 villages over here. You have to drag the army back home, so they're nowhere near ready to raid on the other side of the map. It's just a win-win situation for Beastie. He shuts down your economy, and his goes completely unharassed because this horseman group never got in. Now, after that, it looks like Beastie is going to dispose of the cheap, bring in the premium. Men-at-arms, crossbows, and now lancers all being added in. ML Fru still relying on a decent amount of archers in this comp. And oh, no. This is the lack of information playing into the hands of Beastie here. They saw that Philipsburg, aka ML Fru, committed before into mass archers and hasn't seen anything to suggest otherwise doing it again. And it means that there's a risk ML Fru is going to be countered in the next fight entirely. Now, Janissaries are being added in by Beastie, so that's at least going to give him some value there. Remember, these Janissaries, they get quite the shellacking on them by other range units. But ultimately, that does mean that the Lancers and the Men-at-Arms coming from Beastie are going to go completely unanswered. I say that. So there has been a switch up. Yeah, okay. Typical Beastie. Once his raids, he gave the game away a little here. So the Knights come in, and it looks like ML Fru is now going to make the pivot. However, Beastie, although he's going to pay a price in the fight because the crossbows are going to count him now, he didn't get nothing out of that. It's not about killing villagers here. It's about the fact that he now knows that ML Fru committed to another town center. It's a lot of wood, remember. The Mongols, they pay fully in wood. 900 a pop. What that basically tells you if you're Beastie is that ML Fru is going to run out of wood soon. So they have to secure more ground. Let's see if they can do that, though. Now marching forward. Mangoes are here to counter. Springles as well, so BC has the edge there. You need to wrap around with these horsemen. You need to find a target. Limited vision, but they're about to be revealed to each other. Lancer's trying to bait him in a little. Springles are going to be able to snipe out. Nice maneuver in there. So BC does get the initial first blood on the siege. He sets up the keep as well. Oh, BC, you cheeky bugger. And if I'm not mistaken, he's going Imperial as well. Yeah, look at the food and gold. Farms have been set up, so he's set up long term for this. Can we see an ironic late game trade from the Ottomans? I think so. Oof, that Mango's going to be sacrificed as well. Okay, that's not good news. So Mango goes down. You don't kill a knight for it, and the Kurultai, no! I mean, honestly, you can just commit on this. This dies. I'd be surprised if it gets away, especially with this many units. You can just gap close and body block it. And there it is. Yep. Limitless movement. Remember, there's no Mangoes in play for ML Through right now. So just getting baited into a bad fight here intentionally by Beastie. And Beastie behind this, by the way, is getting ready for the tech up. He's got the resources. He needs to not be distracted by the need for micro. And there it is. It is going to be the Sea Castle Gate. Or Sea Gate Castle, rather. So the opportunity for trade is going to come into the picture. An opportunity to go for the juggler as well. Beastie, remember, he's maneuvering towards the trade here. Kurultai is still retreating, which means it's not healing. Front line is gone. Back line is primarily archers. And Mango is going to have a field day here. A few troops are going to trickle into the eco. Beastie is about to extend that eco lead again. Heavy hit from Mango. Not enough garrison points to save everyone. Nice peel back from Beastie. He's going to draw attention away from this. So he keeps his archers far away, his janissaries far off, because they're going to take out the economy. Meanwhile, his melee mosh pit will be able to clean up the last of the archers. This is looking chalked right now. Imperial Age comes through. Beastie is now almost 30 eco units ahead. Triple up in the military department, and now an Imperial Age advantage. ML Through, I don't know if I'd say they cleanly threw this game, but this has been thrown out of their control. Army is going to be wiped. Beastie is clearly out of the head. And what a way to do this. I mean, from a point in the game where ML Through looked like they may have had the early aggression to follow through, it never occurred. And Beastie was quick to pounce on that, to take advantage of that. From that point on, I don't feel like this was ever against Beastie. Just a great play coming into the mid-game and beyond. ML Through, looking back at this game, ML Through, by the way, is Phyllis Burt. Phyllis Burt in the chat. There he is. They had a decent timing after the clash where they essentially wiped Beastie's army. But that Horseman group never being committed to raids at all was very costly. But the bigger cost here was the Kurultai choice. I find it hard to spot an area in that game where the Kurultai helped. The one time you could say Kurultai, not too bad, they all right, was when the Kurultai was used to defend the base. And so the Kurultai got unpacked, and then you came back to defend. But even then, that fight doesn't feel good, because by the time you're able to use that attack speed, that attack damage rather, and the healing, like, BC doesn't care that his army is going to trade out badly, because he's killed the TC, he's killed loads of villages, so he's already traded efficiently. He can afford to then take a less favorable fight, because what he's done is he's drawn you all the way back to your base, which gives him room for the tech up. Just a good read by Beastie, and an unfortunate series of events. I think, like, Philsbert was quite honest that he got baited into the sexiness of trade and wasn't aware that the buff no longer lingered on the Kurultai. But this is a premium example of why the Kurultai needs to be changed. I think Kurultai is probably one of, if not the most underwhelming landmark in the game. Just trying to think off the top of my head. There's not many that are worse. It's really, really bad value. I think Recon summarized it brilliantly. Like, even when you've got trade, you'd rather go for the step read out so you have a backup option. Because Kurultai doesn't offer up anything justifiable to go the other way.